Hey guys, welcome back to Barovia Made. Today in this video we're going to be making a oak end grain butcher block. One of my most inquired projects that I've done in the past is the oak end grain chopping board that I did for my father. So why not make it into a great big massive butcher block? I'm actually really excited. I've been planning this butcher block for a while. So I've already got all the stock and stuff ready. I bought all that last year. I know I said I'd see you at the end of January. Slight change in circumstances. I got fired. So annoying. I do not agree with the reasons at all. I think it's stupid, and I think there's an ulterior motive behind it. I'll let you more know about that at the end of the video. But for now, we're going to keep it on the butcher block. So we need to generate some income. I need to make some stuff. I've made a website that we're going to be launching, and we're going to be selling this butcher block on that website. So stick along for the build, stick around to the end of the video because I want to have a nice little rant about why I've gotten fired. But for now, I'm going to quit talking and we're just going to hop into the build. So stick around to the end of the video. Let's go. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and grab our oak stock right there. This is all from the sawmill, so as you can tell, this stuff is about as square as a bus wheel. No bueno. So the first thing on our long list of things to do is to cut this off to the table saw to go ahead and start squaring all the stock up. This is a little rudimentary jointer jig that I've made, but my table saw blade is very dull and it's struggling with this very hard oak, and I'm not used to cooking this larger stock on it, so I think it's about time that I either sharpen my blade or I get a new blade altogether, because it just isn't cutting it, it's bending the blade over and doing all sorts. So I forgot to record the first part, but I did use a flat edge to get a flat surface on these boards. Then I ran them through the other way to get two flat faces, and they're not square to the sides. At the time, I didn't think it'd be too much of a big deal, that I could just glue up the two pieces all together, and then as long as the sides are square to the bottom of the clamps, which these clamp relatively parallel, then I should be able to get away with just feeding it through the table saw and hopefully square everything up that way. This came back to bite me in the end, but at the time I thought it was perfectly fine. So it's a new day. We've gotten this out of the clamps now. Now we are faced with our little issue that we were talking about yesterday, about how we couldn't get these two sides square. Now, hopefully, I've got my fingers crossed here, these two sides are square to the bottom and I don't have to set up any jig. If all this wasn't square, I'd have to get a big board that I know is nice and flat, put this on the bottom of it, wedge it, hot glue it and stuff, run it through the surface planer until I get one flat edge, and then I'd be able to flip it over and do the other side. But the bottom of this is pretty flat because this is the bottom that was resting on the clamps. So if these two sides here, if they're square to whatever the surface is on the bottom, then I can just run it through as it is, get one flat side, flip it over, and then do the other side. Because I don't want to start cutting this, and then because we have all these parts here, if we were to cut it on flat on the bottom and then these to be at a slight angle, when I go to start gluing up the flip side, it's all going to be slightly out of aligned, and it's not going to be like perfect lines and stuff. So we're paying attention to detail here. We need to make sure these sides are square. So let's go ahead, pick up a square, cross your fingers. Let's see. Ooh, this side's square. Brilliant. So we can just whack it through the surface planer as is, making sure to do this side first, and then we can flip it over and do the other side. Let's hop on the surface planer. Let's get this plane down, cut up, and onto the second glue up. So that was a big mistake. I didn't take into account the fact that the table is going to take the average of squareness on everything. So when the board's sitting flat on top of everything, it's going to measure square on the side of it. But as you can see when we run it through the surface planer, it's not sitting flat on the whole thing, it's only pushing down on a small area of that material. And because I didn't start off with square stock and all this is in different, places and thicknesses, it's not going to plane the whole, it's not, all the boards aren't going to get planed the same. Some will end up thinner than others and in weird angles. And this came to bite me in the end, because I managed to get everything aligned on one face of the butcher block, but on the other side things were slightly out of alignment, only by a couple of millimeters, but we wanted to shoot for perfection here and get everything aligned perfectly. But I thought I could get away with it, do this until I can afford a new table saw blade or have the time to sharpen my current one. But always start off with square stock. Don't get into the mindset of, oh, you can fix it this way and this way in the future. Back is broken. That's also another bad habit. My surface plane is on this little dolly that I made, and yeah, when I'm surface planing big heavy things like that, I tend not to squat down and feed it through, and I just bend over, and when I'm doing lots of passes, it ends up, aching me back, and I'll probably feel it when I'm older, but I'm young and 24 at the minute, so it's not that big of an issue, although I am sat there moaning about it. Anyway, I didn't realise how much waste as well doing it this way would happen. Like, look, that's nearly a full bin bag full of sawdust just because I didn't square the stock up in the first place and I decided to do it like this. So a lot of wasted wood there, but it's going to a good cause. Oh no. Today is not my day. Just broke my zero clearance insert that I had, so I quickly super glued it back together, and I went to go grab the stock insert that I had that was also broken, but I can jerry fit it to work properly. But I'm just changing the table saw blade to another dull one that I have, but this is a coarser tooth one, so there's less tooth count, which I'm hoping on this chunkier stock would lead to more cutting efficiency. Which it did. It didn't leave the cleanest cut. It was a little bit wavy. Not perfect for a glue up or anything like that. I think I'd have to do a couple of spring passes, to clean it up right. But I should really get into just sharpening my table saw blade. Which, if any of you guys know in the comments below on how to sharpen the tungsten blade, because these are all have tungsten teeth on them, don't they? Or tungsten carbide. Let me know. I do have a diamond stone, but I feel like that's going to be a long, long time sharpening each tooth with a diamond stone. But yeah, anyway, I got a little bit perilous using that cross cut sled on such a small board like that, so I whacked out the fence and did it that way. But managed to get 2 chopping boards out of all this, but there is another big issue here, which I will demonstrate for you. They seem to be slightly bowed on the sides, so if I push either side, they spring out like that, so they're shaped like a slight oval. And you can't tell with the naked eye when you look at each one, but they're bowed out a little bit. So I've created this wonderful jig. Me trying to be a nice little hand model there, but it's basically just a touch on either side, so I'm not transferring over the curved edge again when I run it back through the table saw blade. But my plan is I'm just going to use the table saw blade to take a very, very, very small cut, hopefully enough to where it's not going to push my table saw blade over, but just enough to be able to clean up those edges and make them a little bit more flat and parallel. And this ended up working for me. It took a long time, and because I wasn't taking like a normal cut or anything, it created a lot more dust that was in the air, so I put a mask on, which worked out a little bit better for me lungs. I usually don't do that. But yeah, we've got it all done, and they all started fitting up in the clamps again. The reason you don't want to go and just wrench it down is because, for one, those lines will have more and more of a curve when, leading out from the middle of the boards to the outward of the boards in your final piece, and it'll look a little funny. And also, because this is end grain, you risk just snapping one of the boards because they can't take a lot of sideways load because of how the grain is running. So, you don't just wrench it down. Clean up and square it all up and then do it. It takes a little bit extra time, but you have a much better product and you don't risk breaking anything and ruining your project. So we're just getting in this in the clamps, and we're going to let it set up for 24 hours. You could do it after a few hours, after the glue dries and everything like that, but I like to leave it a good 24 hours, especially when doing end grain stuff, just so I definitely know that nothing's going to explode and move. Then I took it back over to the surface planer, and yes, for anyone asking in the comments, you can surface plane end grain. It is just very, very risky while doing so because of the grain structure. you're cutting on the very tops of the grain, and you can very, very, very easily split it. And when you do this, expect chip out on the sides. Usually, I glue a sacrificial piece of wood to the end to support the grain so it doesn't blow out on the back. This time, I didn't know for some reason, and I got a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of blowout, but you can't take deep cuts on a surface planer when doing end grain. You have to do it little by little, and I mean turning that handle like an eighth of a degree each time and doing loads of passes. I didn't show all the passes on the camera because, you know, I don't want it taking up the majority of the video, but I took a lot of passes, slowly getting down until everything was perfectly flat to each other. But yes, it is possible to surface plane end grain. Anyway, after we did that, grabbed the little round over bit and just give everything a nice little round over. With that other board, I actually gave it a 45-degree chamfer or bevel on the bottom. I can't remember. Is it chamfer? Is that the right one? Yeah, chamfer. I think it's a chamfer. I didn't show myself doing it because I was going to do it to both of them, but I didn't like it that much. So for the big one, I just gave everything a nice little round over, and it was the little one that I gave the chamfer to. Just cutting out some finger holes here as well. And this bit, whatever I use to do that little round over for the finger grooves, it loves to burn the wood. So I have to take small passes when I'm coming to the end of me cut, but I always still burn the parts that I plunge down on. So I'd love to know if that's a router bit issue or if that's a user issue. And if you guys have any suggestions on different ways of doing things in the future when I'm doing those little finger grooves, because I still get little burnt bits on the very edges, which is hard to clean up. But it's perfectly fine through the middle though. But yeah, as you saw there, I gave it all a good little sanding, and I used a sawdust just to fill in any cracks or anything in the wood. And now I'm on to the final sanding, and as you can see there, I have a tiny little bit of dust collection. It is just a shop vac hooked up to my normal orbital sander, but I tell you what, the difference is night and day when it comes to sanding. I get a lot better sanding finish when I'm using the dust collection, and there is so much less dust in the air that I probably don't even have to wear a mask. I still wear a mask anyway, but I can't see that many dust particles in the air, if any, when I'm using the shop vacuum to suck up the dust. So really recommend you just hook up your Hoover. I made myself a little adapter out of some spare hose and stuff that I had, and it works wonders. But yeah, quickly stamped everything and then drowned it all in mineral oil. I was thinking about absolutely drowning these, like literally filling up a massive tub, leaving them overnight to soak as much up as possible. But I did something similar to that quite a while ago to a different chopping board that I made for myself off camera, and I never got the greasy feeling off of the board. It always felt oily. So let's get into the awkward part of the video. If you just want to see how the butcher blocks came out, I'll put a timestamp on the screen so you can skip forward and see how they came out. But just before I get into that, let's have a little chat about why I got fired. So I'll give you some backstory to when I first started the job. At my old place, the old place I used to work at, they did a scheme where they'd give you all your holidays up front straight away at the start of the year. And basically, there was some tension between me and my manager. There was just two of us in our department. It was a maintenance department. There was my manager, and then there was me, a maintenance assistant. And there was some tension between us. We got along, but he was constantly on my back all the time, snarky remarks. He'd sit back and do nothing all day and send me around rushing to do everything. And the money wasn't great. So because we got all these holidays up front, I'd take them not only to do these videos and stuff, but also just to get away from him and have some peace and quiet, because sometimes I'd be pulling my hair out. And obviously when you're in an environment like that, where you're not happy in work, it's not good. And I tried talking to the general manager, and that sorted things out for a week, but he slowly got back into his ways. So I thought there was no point going back to my general manager anymore and saying, look, he's doing X, Y, and Z. Can you get him to stop? So I just decided to leave. They were very sad to see me go, apart from me manager, obviously. But everyone else really sad to see me go, especially with the circumstances. and I got offered this job. Now, I am tempted to out them, but I'm not. Uh, Basically, I started working in a place up at the lakes, and it was very different from a hotel environment, which I'm used to because I've been doing hospitality for the past 4 years or so now. Uh, it was more of like they had like apartments or like buildings, I should say, and you'd bounce between them all. I don't know. It's confusing. It's like a timeshare where there's owners, and then there's like rentals where people can rent it for a little bit, and then there's Airbnb, all sorts of different things, and it was quite confusing, especially to wrap my head around. Like I've said on the channel before, in the Christmas calendar videos, learning this new job and everything like that. So anyway, I got offered this job there, maintenance supervisor, 27 grand a year. I was like, hell yeah, get me on board. I'll do that. And what do you call it? They hired me. So obviously handed me notice in at this place, and I had to take the hit on the holidays because obviously I owed them money because of the holidays. So the paycheck I got was basically next to nothing. And then I fell ill. I wanted to start work, but they wouldn't let me because I was ill. Good on them, I guess. But obviously didn't make any money in that period. So there was a good month and a bit where I had nothing. So I ran into my overdraft. I ran into my credit cards a little bit. But I was like, oh, it's all good. This new job, it's a lot more money. I'll pay it off in no time once I get started working and stuff. So went through all that and put myself in a bad position. But I was like, no worries. We've got a better paying job coming ahead. I'll pay it all off in no time. So I started working there. It was great. I absolutely blew them out of the park with the maintenance side of things because, well, on this channel, I'm very good with my hands. I fix my own car. Pretty much did this shed. I've got a quite toxic mindset that if you were to put like a Boeing 737 in front of me that was broken, and you give me an infinite amount of tools and an infinite amount of time and some time on the internet, I'd be able to get that thing flying just by myself. But anyway, I'm getting beside the point here. Very good at the maintenance side of things. When I first came in, they had a bunch of equipment that wasn't working that they were going to take in to go and get serviced and stuff. I said, no, I'll go and fix it all. I fixed all the lawnmowers, the heads trimmers and stuff like that. And got it all back up and running, saved them a bunch of money in that department. And they were really blown away by that. That was in my first week. And they were like, wow, this kid's got something going for him. He knows what he's doing. They didn't have anyone that was qualified to work on like electrics and stuff like that. So straight away I got in, I started replacing heaters and stuff like that as well. I was really focusing on the maintenance side of things because, maintenance supervisor, it's my job. And then after I did all that, they handed us this big list of stuff. It was about 3 A4 pages full of writing all the way long, and managed to get about 2/3 through that list. And that was in like week two or three. And then we got hit because we were getting a bunch of new kitchens fitted in some of the units, and basically the cowboy builders, they didn't fit any of the doors on any of the washing machines or anything like that. The ripped out skirting board, decorating and stuff like that needed doing, and they had already booked those out, so they were like flapping around and panicking. No worries, I'm a jack of all trades. I'll go in and I'll fix them all up. So that's what I did. I went in, I fixed them all up, got them all good and proper, and they were very, very thankful for that. And they were so happy with my performance on the maintenance side of things that I actually got, a nice bonus. It was only like £200 on Christmas or whatever. And I was the new starter there. I shouldn't have even got a bonus because, I've only been there for a little bit. But they were so happy with my work. I even got a letter saying that they were really happy. And that's why they decided to give me a bonus and everything like that. So everything was off to a flying start. I was thinking, yes, brilliant. I'm absolutely smashing it out of the park here. I'm, I'm saving them a lot of money. They've managed to get rid of their contracted painter that they're getting in, because I can paint, I can do all that stuff. They don't have to phone the electrician out every other day to come and fix something that's broken electric wise. You know, a lot of stuff that they would have contracted out, I could do. I thought that's why I came in. I thought that's where I'd be a valued asset. And for the most part, they made it seem like I was a valued asset. Coming to the problems now, they have a very, very like medieval, horrible way of working. They admitted themselves it's a very, very complicated system. Like, instead of like what I'd be used to in a hotel is you'd get a vacant rooms list that shows you which rooms are vacant for the day, which ones people are in, and which ones people are coming into. Very basic and easy to understand. I can look at it, cross-check it, be like, brilliant, okay, I know what rooms I can and can't go into. In this place, they did like a weekly thing. There wasn't dates on everything. They had like Saturday and Sunday units. Basically, the system was very, very complicated, and I could sit here for about half an hour chatting about it. But they said to me, hey, ask all the questions you want. Don't think you're ever bothering us. We want, we are very aware it's a very complicated system. And the other maintenance man that we've got here, that's been here for like 5 months or so now, even he's still wrapping his head around and getting into it. But he knows it for the most part, so he'll be able to train you up on it. So very complicated system and way of doing things. I can't just look at the sheet and be like, okay, that's empty, I can go and do that. I have to check the sheet, and then I have to check a whiteboard, and then I have to go and check another whiteboard, and all this just to find out if a room's free or not. And then obviously there's something called lockups that we do there. Once the cleaners and stuff have been in, we go and, lock the unit up, make sure everything's turned off, the heating's on if it needs to be, paperwork in if it needs to be, and all that stuff. So a lot of moving parts and stuff in that direction that I'm not used to, but I was reassured, don't worry, we'll give you all the time in the world to learn it. We're very aware it's a complicated system, and we are trying to fix it and stuff, and we're trying to do better. So yeah, basically been there for about a month. I had like just started to learn it and stuff, and yeah, basically they turned around and was like, you're annoying us with questions and stuff all the time. You've made a mistake or two, which leading up to that, the day or two before, I assumed that I'd take out the rubbish and recycling, which by the way should be a cleaner's job, but I thought you'd take the rubbish and recycling out at the same time as you were locking the unit up, if you know what I mean. Do it in one foul sweep. Go there, grab it, lock everything up, go. That's what I thought in my head anyway. But there was so much going on in between me starting and then, I wasn't really concentrating too much on that side of things. I was more focused on the long list of maintenance stuff and getting the kitchens and everything done and fixing everything up there and, doing my maintenance job. But I'd messed up one day. I assumed that I'd go and take out the rubbish and recycling when the unit was ready to be locked. Turns out, no. I was meant to go and do all the rubbish and recycling in every unit at 10 a.m. so the cleaners and stuff didn't have to bother with it and stuff. Obviously, I got radioed over, told my mistake, and I skipped my lunch and everything. I did it. I got everything. Everything was done. Like, I just made a mistake. I was like an hour or two behind because of it, but everything got done. People even checked in early. But apparently that was like the final straw for them, because I had been asking so many questions about how the system works, and every time I'd work something out, I'd go and say to them, hey, have I got this right? And they'd either say yes or no. Majority of the time, yes. So yeah, they just said, look, you're fired. And I was like, you're firing me? Like, I am getting to learn the system. I've been here for a month, and we've had a ton of distractions while I've been here, and I am just starting to get it. I am just starting to grasp it. You're gonna fire me and spend a bunch of time training someone else up? Like, what's your plan here? Like, I'm only just starting to get it. Give me a couple, like another week or two. I'll probably be dialed in, and then I'll be like, best of both worlds. I can do everything then. But they were dead set in their ways, and weren't having it. And the thing that I find really, really confusing is before my boss, I won't name dropping, before my boss went on holiday, he was all happy and dandy with me and stuff. Everything was brilliant. And then when he got back from holiday, he wasn't happy. He was nitpicking at everything I was doing, shouting at me here and there. He even pulled me into his office because I was going to lock up 2 units. So I grabbed 2 bottles of wine and, everything to go in there. I was walking over to go put it in. And then he shouted me over and was like, "Why are you only carrying 2?" And I was like, "Because I'm going to this side of the property and I'm locking these 2 units up. So I've grabbed these 2 here." And for the longest time, ever since I started, we had only done like one bit of paperwork at a time, one bit of this. So we didn't crease any paperwork, so we didn't smash any bottles, just basic stuff. But he was like, "You should be grabbing more than that. You should be doing this." And just nitpicking at like things. And he even had a go at me because he said he was going to do a lockup in a unit that I was in. And because these are like normal houses and properties in the public, I thought, okay, I'll lock the door. There's no harm in locking the door. There's TVs and stuff in there that can be stolen. Someone's coming into it and it's cold outside. Best just to keep the door closed, lock it, and then when he comes to it, it's simple enough just to unlock it and walk in. But he had a massive issue with that. He even wrote it on my termination letter of just like, that's not how we do things. So, there seemed to be no leeway there. And, you'd think before they'd fire me, they'd bring me in and say, "Hey, look, these are the points you're falling back and, struggling on. Can you, dial yourself in, look at these points, and then, we can come back later for a review and see if you've actually, taken any information in or anything like that." You'd think that would be the process and how they do things. But basically I was left in the dark until they pulled me in a room and was like, "Yeah, get out." So I feel like there's an alternative motive there. And I know the manager, he doesn't have good relations with someone in my family. And when he first hired me, he didn't know that I was related to that person. So I feel like once he went on holiday, he put 2 and 2 together. And that's why his whole mood changed around me. That's not fact. That's me trying to reason with why they'd come to this conclusion. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to brag or anything, but I'm pretty hard to, I've worked a few maintenance jobs, and the people that do them, it's pretty hard to come by with someone with my skill set when it comes to that sort of stuff. Things come naturally to me, and the majority of people that do these maintenance jobs, they know like the very basics and stuff. Not trying to say, "Oh, look at me, I'm so good at blah, blah, blah," but most people that are better don't do a maintenance job. They go into a field of like being an electrician or a joiner or stuff like that when they have better mindset. Difference with me is I don't want to go to college. I want to do this full time. So I don't mind doing a maintenance job and getting paid a little bit of money just while I'm trying to make this take off. But I don't know. I'm getting off track here. So that's basically why I've been fired. I think there's an alternative motive behind it. I do not agree with the ethics, and I can't do anything about it because I didn't sign anything when I first started. I know it seems a bit shady and stuff, and my old job actually warned me. They said, "Look, sign something. Don't start the job till you signed it. We can't believe you've even handed your notice in before signing anything." And they were like really trying to look out for me. Because what do you call it? Actually, I'll just say the place. I worked at the Holiday Inn Express in Barrow-in-Furness. Everyone there is lovely. They really treat the staff well. And I absolutely loved it there. I just wanted some more pay and more hours because I was only doing 4 days a week there. And the money wasn't too great. And everyone there, lovely. They did so much for their staff. We had like celebrating service week where they'd, you know, everyone could come in non-uniform and what do you call it, stuff like that. People would get stuff for Christmas. I remember, I think it was last year, they did like the Christmas calendar sort of thing where every day leading up to Christmas, they bought something for all their employees. Basically, they're just a really, really good company to work for. I just had a lot of disagreements with my manager and his work ethic and mine. We just clashed and I just wanted out. But I've worked for that company as a housekeeper and I've worked for that company as a maintenance man. Brilliant company to work for. So they had my back and they were saying, look, you know, don't be an idiot. Sign something. You know, we're leading up to Christmas. They, you know, God forbid they're just using you to get through Christmas and then you'll be jobless. I don't think that's the case. But I don't know. I was an idiot. I saw dollar signs and I thought, well, you know, in this day and age, why would they hire and fire and do stuff like all this? But it happens. It happens. So I'm not saying that I'm completely at no fault or anything like that, because I did make one or two mistakes when it came to the like working outside of things, when it comes to lockups and stuff like that. On the maintenance side of things, they were blown away. They were so happy with the work I was doing to even like get rid of all the contractors and stuff and just have me in place there. They were ecstatic by it. Give me a bonus because of it. They were over the moon with it. But it seems very, very harsh and nitpicking to fire me because of that, especially when my job is a maintenance supervisor. My job is maintenance. You'd think this stuff would come secondary, but that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Might have fired me because of relatives of mine. Might have fired me because they just wanted to get through the holiday season with some extra help. There's a million and one reasons. I don't think it's because of me not getting it, because I was getting it. Wasn't fully there yet, but people that have been working there for ages still get confused by the system they have in place. So anyway, I'm going in circles now, but that's basically the gist of it. I'm left in a really crappy position now because I'm out of a job. I'm not making any income. I've got bills to pay. YouTube doesn't pay me a lot. I can buy like a Chinese or something every month. I don't know if I can actually tell you what I earn, but it's pennies. It's not good. Like I said, your usual Chinese order is what I make a month off YouTube, which ain't gonna cut it. So that's why I've created Bro Have You Made website. This was something I wanted to do further down the line when I had more of a following and when I felt like I was ready. But part of me feels like, why am I holding on now? I've got to do something. So I've created a website. I've taken the leap. I've done that. I've made a bunch of just like chopping boards and coasters. I know a lot of you want to support me. I've seen it in the comments below asking if there's something you can do to donate. I don't want you just donating money on. I like to get. I don't want to just take. If you know what I mean. I want something to give in return. So there are a bunch of coasters on there. You can buy a singular coaster for like either £5, £7, or £10. Just so I don't feel like I'm just taking donations or anything like that. So if you haven't got a lot of money and you don't want to buy like a chopping board or these butcher blocks or anything like that, you can buy a coaster. I'll send it to you, and that's a little coaster. And I'd really appreciate the help. I don't want to sit here and beg, but I'm in a difficult position right now. So I'll be making more stuff. I'll be making a lot more videos. Obviously, I've got a lot more time now. So if you can support me, and if you do have the means, I'd much appreciate if you purchase something. No way am I saying you have to or anything like that. Honestly, if you don't have the money and you just want to watch me for entertainment, watch my videos. I'm happy with that. But if you are invested in the brand, I'd really appreciate it if you just get a coaster or buy a chopping board or a butcher block, you know. I feel so weird saying all of this stuff, you know, but yeah, it is what it is. I'm jobless. I'm trying to build a business now, and I'm trying to fast track it a little bit so I can afford to pay me bills and stuff. But yeah, I'll leave a link in the description to the website. Even if you're not buying anything, just go over there and check it out. You know, because it might rank higher on Google or whatever, then I might get organic traffic or whatever from there. Share this video with friends and family, or even share the website if you don't want to buy anything, or subscribe, you know, maybe watch more of my videos and stuff like that. Just anything really that'd help, you know. Subscribing's free, watching my videos is free, and I get a little kickback from that. So I don't know, I'm running in circles now. My brain's doing all sorts, getting a little bit emotional thinking about it and talking about it all now. But that's what happened. That's why there's a video now, and there's plenty more videos to come. So don't worry, this channel is not going to be a sellout channel. Normal videos will proceed. I just have a website now, and I'd love the support. So I'll shut up. I'll show you these butcher blocks, and yeah, I will see you in the next video.